joined now by the one, the only Colm Liddy, the local historian and author, who's with us for our latest and last edition of Clare History in Focus for 2025. A very good morning to you, Colm.
Good morning, Alan.
And suitably attired in wonderful Christmas jumper, a unique one is all I'll say. You've raised the stakes in Christmas attire, that is for sure. I'm going to have to go home and get rid of my Christmas jumper and buy a new one. You're going to take us back in time to 100 years ago. 1925, Christmas in County Clare. And given how far back in history you've taken us, 100 years isn't a massive leap back, but of course I would argue we've seen the most transformation in life, in mankind, and most advancements over the past century or so.
Very true, very true.
A very different world back then.
Yes. I suppose, the most obvious thing about that year, 1925 Christmas, is the new state of Ireland is only freshly, it's still cooling off after being in the oven for several centuries. And the wounds are still very fresh of the whole thing between the War of Independence and the Civil War. One piece of news that comes out this December 100 years ago was that the Boundary Commission had completely failed to sort anything out, and so the boundary with the north of Ireland was going to be left, something that should have been temporary, but it was far too large how much was given away.
Can I just say that Conor Moore wrote a wonderful book on the Boundary Commission, and when you hear more about, I'll call them our side, in that they were woefully ill prepared. It was they were no match. It was basically inept. In terms of our side versus the northern side.
So that Christmas, Eamon de Valera naturally appeared at Ennis. He was our MP/TD, and he gave a thundering speech at what a disgrace it was. But frankly, nobody gave a damn. I mean, he was his star was in eclipse at that time, and it would be 7 more years before he came back to power. So, nobody was prepared to go back to war over it. They were just quietly sad.
Although, we've heard so much about Irish people being sad over the centuries of chats with you, that it's nice that we're talking about them being sad in the immediate aftermath of us getting a new state. Lots, though, as you mentioned, the War of Independence followed quickly by the Civil War, so a lot of discontented people, particularly the rebels.
That's right. I suppose we'll say part of it was that so much of the fighting was actually done by what are known as men of no property. So the labourers, and indeed, even if you were from a middle-class family, the second sons, who would ultimately also get no property. Those are the people who actually did the fighting. And possibly they had believed at some level that this, for Ireland, was going to be a new and utopian place when the dust settled. But in fact, things more or less went on as before, with just new management. And they were pretty cheesed off at this. So the habit of violence, of course, had been taught to them. Nobody was just going to just lie around and take it. So what we have, for instance, in this Christmas 100 years ago was gangs of young men going around trying to sort things out the way they had been for the previous decade, with a little bit of violence, a little bit of threats. There was in the Ballinacally area a group known as the Vigilance Committee, who paid visits to James Heher, Patrick Corrie and Michael Sharry. Essentially, they were masked men, armed, going around in a motor car, threatening people that they wanted some land from them, in this new order.
Very persuasive.
Very persuasive. Meanwhile, more seriously, there was 2 brothers called Patrick and Michael Caher who lived outside Corofin, and they were ambushed by a gang also 100 years ago in December. The gang were hiding in a trench and started volleying them with gunfire, but thankfully they were that kind of pellet sort of thing, so the 2 lads survived. Their father was an extensive landowner in the Corofin area.
Okay, tell us about the bishop.
Well, first of all, though, I just have to quickly go on to the guards.
Okay.
The guards had been only recently formed, and again there was this maybe lack of trust, particularly in anti-treaty areas. The guards were seen as essentially way too pro-Free State, and so there was a lack of respect for them. There was a particular guard from Kilkenny who had been in the IRA, and now he was a guard above in Fanore, and he was looking to crack down on the poaching industry up there. Wasn't appreciated by the locals.
What a surprise.
And so, in an infamous thing, at Fenor, if you ever drive around the area, you'll see quite clearly there's a graveyard, an ancient graveyard there, Cragga graveyard, and a gang hid behind the wall there. And as Thomas Dowling from Kilkenny attempted to cycle past, they opened fire and shot him dead. There's actually, if anybody's interested, an excellent book on this. Joe Queally, the local historian, who's written several great books, but he has one called Echoes of the Civil War, which goes into that one in detail. On a more light-hearted note, the guards in Broadford were also being bothered by the public. In this case, they had washed their laundry, their shirts, vests, socks and underwear, and they hung them out on a clothesline at the back of the barracks in Broadford. Why wouldn't you? Well, lo and behold, when they came back, there they were, gone. And there was a note of her attached on the peg and the clothesline which says, "I've taken your clothes, next time I'm coming back for your boots and handcuffs." A local farmer called Michael Maloney was eventually arrested. When they searched his house, they found some of the articles, and indeed he was wearing one of the.
So he was actually, because I wonder, he was just trying to get his Halloween costume sorted for the following year.
Yeah, but when he was brought to court anyway, 100 years ago, he told the judge that actually it wasn't his fault. He had bought them from a mysterious travelling man who came around, a middle-sized fellow with reddish hair, who had offered him second-hand some cheap clothes. And so Michael Maloney got off.
You got off? Yes. With the vaguest, most made-up on-the-spot description of said middleman.
Yes, a middle-sized, red-haired fellow.
Yeah.
He's out there.
He might have been wearing a hat. Okay. My God. Okay, any more to tell us on the law and order side of things?
The bishops. The bishops. Now, so it's this young Ireland, and finally we get our own country. Naturally, our bishops decide now is the time to flex their muscles in terms of trying to influence matters. And it's in this month that they release a pastoral letter, which is read out across Ireland and, of course, in every church in Clare. The bishops are not happy. They have identified a major problem, which is young people gadding about. As it said, they go where they like and they do what they like. And they were right. Again, the independence and the Civil War had essentially been waged by young single people. You know, that was who was doing it, essentially people in their late teens or 20s. Whereas previously they'd have had to ask permission to do anything. They had gotten into the habit, naturally. They were sneaking around in the dark, avoiding the Brits, you know, passing messages and carrying weapons. So when the war was over, they were still at that kind of crack.
They liked it, clearly.
And it was crazy. And the bishops were not happy. And they identified that really the most dangerous thing of all was dancing. Dancing was getting an explosion, both in country houses and in dance halls. And to quote, they said, "Many a good innocent girl is led into sin, shame and scandal. They set her unwary feet on the road that leads to perdition."
It's hard to know what to say to that.
So you read the pastoral, which is still available online. They go on about sin, occasions of sin, imported dances of an evil kind, dubious dances by persons dazed with drink. And they also remarkably say about the Irish dances, which is what we should be dancing. It is no small commendation of Irish dances that they cannot be danced for long hours. Because it's so energetic, Irish dancing.
You get tired out.
You actually can't do it for 6 hours. Whereas, do you know, what they're actually talking about, you're wondering, what is this dance? Is it like the lambada, perhaps, from Dirty Dancing? No, it's waltzing. Waltzing. That is the
not exactly
dance.
The hot new dancing style that has come from the streets of Chicago or something. It's the waltz.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is you face each other. You know, you don't be doing that in Irish dancing.
Other, you look into each other's eyes.
Yeah. And indeed, the proximity is way too much, and you can do it for hours.
We're still talking about the dancing, right?
Yes.
Okay. Of all the potential ills and evils they could find in the world, dancing is up there. Were the bishops, were the church causing any other issues or any other problems they saw or evils in our society?
Well, somebody in the Dáil, the newly formed Dáil, had mentioned the possibility that we would legislate for divorce. Well, I tell you, they slapped that one down.
That ain't going to happen.
In fact, it would be, as we know, 70 more years before that was allowed. Also, alcohol, which they noticed that as bad enough as alcoholism, it was a hell of a lot worse when women did it. So,
but alcoholic
indeed.
men are fine.
Yeah. It's kind of to be expected, really, in Ireland.
Yeah.
But there was nothing worse than women getting involved in that class of thing. So, thankfully, anyway, all of this was explained in letters to the people.
They were just looking out for women's health. We all know, you had too much drink and the calories and all that. Right, so those are the serious problems afflicting the country. Where do you want to take us next, Colm?
I want to take us that we've been up on one corner of Clare, but let's go to the far bottom right, Ardnacrusha. Something we really should be so proud of, that in this new state, I'm sure you've heard other contributors, there's a new book out about it at the moment. Dan Danaher has been in. I've read a previous book from 20 years, a guy called Michael McCarthy has a fine book on the topic. Great stuff if anyone's interested. But the new state just took on this astonishing project to go from a situation where we had almost no electricity to having the state-of-the-art in the world hydroelectric plant. So it was a big leap forward, but straight away at Christmas 1925, the project, when it was only getting going, was hit by major industrial action. The crux of the issue was that they wanted to pay. Now, obviously, it was a huge budget on this thing, but they were keeping it low where they could, including wages. Ordinary labourers were to be paid 32 shillings a week. Now, the unions of Limerick were kind of notoriously strong. Like only a few years earlier, in 1919, Limerick had its own Soviet.
Yeah.
So for 2 weeks, we were like a mini Cuba, or a bit, dare I say it, a mini USSR in Limerick. So they had that tradition. And when they heard about this 32 shillings, which is only, Ardnacrusha is only a few miles up the road, they weren't going to hear it. You'd get more like 50 shillings a week in Limerick City. And there was huge, unrest. They attacked the German engineers in the project. They attacked the equipment coming in through the Limerick docks. They wouldn't handle it, or they'd, attack people. So it was all very fraught in those first few months. But what they did not realise was that, in all honesty, 32 shillings was worth a hell of a lot to farm labourers, who the people all around Ardnacrusha were that. They were people who had used to be in an agricultural existence, who were more used to getting 26 shillings a week. And worse than that, to be a farm worker in those days is to rarely see money. A lot of your payment is in kind. You maybe have a very small little cot bed to sleep in on the farm, possibly in the barn, away from the actual family. Your payment is highly erratic. You see, all farm work is seasonal, so in a harvest day, the farmer expects you to work 14 hours or more, 20 possibly. And then during winter, on a rainy day, you might do none. So your money is erratic, your hours are erratic. And, they're very paternalistic, these farmers. They only give you the money occasionally when it suits them. So for somebody to say that you can do a job which starts at 8 a.m. and there's a lunch break at a certain time and you stop at 6 p.m., and you'll get your money definitely to jangle in your pocket.
This is manna from heaven for them.
It's manna from heaven for them. So that's what the Limerick boys did not realise, that there was more than enough. And quickly the workforce rose to 5,000 people, labourers in Ardnacrusha. And it was very tough, don't get me wrong. But for these people, it was actually great money. Okay,
and where do you want to finish up then?
Well, I'll finish up. As we know, one of the great things in Ireland and the West is the Christmas #1 song. Well, one way of
You're telling me this goes back 100 years.
Yeah, well, get this. So how much is 32 shillings worth in 1925? Well, one way of asking, which a labourer would have been relevant, is how much is a pint? How much is a pint? And the answer is 6 pence. So 6 pence with 32 shillings, you will actually buy 64 pints, should you so wish. That's not too bad.
Some of them tested that to its limits.
Because incredibly, as the camp started to grow, very quickly pubs sprang up till there was 26 pubs within a 2-mile radius. 26 official pubs and probably a few unofficial pubs in an area. And in that Christmas, one thing about the past is they often came up with songs. They would make songs about things. Everything that happened, they would make a song about it. So they made a song about 32 shillings.
Are you about to sing it for us?
Well, Viewers of a musical disposition should turn down the volume now.
Oh, an unexpected Christmas treat.
Because what we have here is the lyrics to 32
Okay.
Bob, and I don't know the tune, so I'll just kind of hum it along. You know? So you'll get the idea of the song that was popular in Northern Russia 100 years ago. 32 Bob, 32 Bob, come and we'll give you a beautiful job. Come and enjoy some light recreation down on the Shannon electrification. All you've to do is spend a few hours admiring the sun as it shines through the showers. You're up to your waist in mud and in slime, wielding a shovel, staking quicklime, shoving a barrow, lifting a load, digging a channel, making a road. We don't want to strain you, so we'll only detain you 50 hours on the job, pay you 32 Bob. There'll be a half pound of meat and good things to eat, some scones at midday, bread and jam with your tea. For this we will charge you no more than 12 Bob. Sure, everything's cheap on this wonderful job. If you want any supper, all you've to do is ask for it nicely and pay for it too. Now, isn't that a really beautiful job? And don't forget a whole 32 Bob. Why don't you jump at the chance of your life? Did I hear you say something about having a wife? And kiddies at home who want to be fed, you shouldn't have children, your wife should be dead. Didn't you know that the new Irish nation is only to last for one generation? How dare you be married when your rate for the job is 32 Bob? 32 Bob.
Oh, well done. I tell you what, that was brilliant. A simplistic melody, but effective nonetheless, Colm, and very well delivered. And it was a struggle, clearly, to get to the end, so congratulations on that. Oh, amazing. Yeah, that should be Christmas number one for 2025. Never mind 1925.
The cost of living, it's still a problem.
Yeah. How many pints can I get out of 32 shillings? Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate that, not just today, but for taking us through the many Irish struggles for freedom and unsuccessful ones throughout the course of the year. A very happy Christmas and New Year to you. We'll see you in early 2026. Any hints or suggestions as to where we might be, our next port of call might be for the new year?
Well, next year we'll begin again with the story of Daniel O'Connell. But more immediately, I must say, if anyone's in the area, I am appearing live in person in Tubber tomorrow night. In Tubber Hall, the Burren Bio organisation that have some great stuff going up there around the Burren. Well, I'm giving a talk tomorrow night in their hall at 8 p.m, Tubber Hall. It's on the subject of Christmas 1846 in County Clare. So obviously famine-related stuff, but some new material I think people won't be familiar with. Brilliant.
And if you can check out Colm there, and if you buy him a pint out of your 32 shillings, sixpence is the going rate, he might even break into song. You never know if you ask him nicely. Colm, thank you very much, and we'll see you again in 2026. If people are still looking for a late Christmas gift, and let's face it, it's two males talking to each other, so chances are it's a man who's going, oh God, I haven't got my Christmas shopping done, and they would like to pick up something from your store. Where can they find it?
Check out shopinireland.ie. There's all the books, t-shirts and stuff, or you can just contact me. Email colmliddy@aircom.net.
Colm, thank you very much for being with us and delivering my favourite song of 2025.